What do you think is the biggest problem facing students today?
I think the biggest challenge facing the student body today is going to be Brexit, and also the Higher Education and Research Bill, which is currently going through Parliament, and the way that is going to change the way that student finance limbers next generation of students with even more personal debt than the current generation.
So how would you kind of go about tackling these problems?
Well, I think that students need to be political, and I say that in a way that it's not party political, but political with maybe a small p, but be aware of the legislation that's coming through Westminster. Currently the bills are going to end up in the House of Lords, and that's going to be where you're going to make the gains for students. So I think it's time to find a baroness or a lord and lobby them to point out that that students cannot sustain this level of personal debt, because at the minute the Sutton Trust has shown that students are graduating with around £44,000 worth of debt. Now, with that level of debt and with house prices going up, there is a huge level of insecurity in young people's lives generally, not just students, and that is impacting on a mental health crisis, and that is having an impact in job security and in every aspect of your life. So I think that keeping an eye on what's going on in the wider political world is important.
Yeah, I mean, at Lancaster, our Labour Society has actually started a petition against the removal of the maintenance grants. Yeah.
So at the minute, students from poorer backgrounds will get a grant to supplement their living. Now, if that's turned into a loan, which is the government's plan, that means that students from poorer backgrounds will actually graduate with more debt than their richer peers, which goes against every sense of social justice. So the University Labour Club is doing that petition. I was on campus the other day. They didn't know I was on campus, but I turned up and I saw them campaigning in Alexandra Square, and it was really good to see students talking about the impact on their lives of this debt.
And also, like you said before, the university fees are actually going to rise as well, so that will place students even in more debt. How do you advise students go about this?
I think it's important that we don't move away. Sometimes student campaigns have talked about keeping the cap on the fees, and I think it needs to be more radical than that. I think we need to actually talk about the principle of free education, about the idea that an educated population benefits the whole of society, and therefore it should be through business and general taxation that higher education is funded, so that debt is not a prohibitor to accessing higher education. And actually we value education as a force for good in itself as well, and not just see higher education as being a way of accessing that graduate job, which in the reality there are fewer and fewer of, and the wages that they're paying is actually dropping lower.
Are you hopeful to see free education in the near future?
I'm hopeful to see it in the future, maybe not the near future. I don't think the current government are quite where I am on this, but I think you've just got to believe that some things are possible, and I think in politics and as a student it's important that you fight for what you actually want to see in the world.
Thank you so much, Kat.